What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to Deadlock and Load, episode 25. My name is Cryptic here with BSJ. And if you guys are loving these episodes, make sure to follow the podcast, subscribe here either on YouTube or Spotify. We'd appreciate it. As we jump into the first topic of today, Brian, how you feeling?
That's a very big topic. Without spending the entire podcast talking about my life, I would just like to say that my own little plug here is that last week I announced that I'm doing like a big Discord server slash community for Dota, and it was meant to kind of be a soft launch on my secondary YouTube channel, and it ended up being 1,600 members in like a week. So that's pretty exciting, but it's also put my life into a like, oh shit, time to like, this was meant to be a slow transition. Now it's meant to be or now it's turned into like time to go. So exciting. But life, it has its stresses. I've got that. I've got my house. I've got a lot going on. So, but life's good, man. Life's good. All the stress, these are the type of stresses I'm grateful to have. So that's the vibe I'm with right now. Stressed, but excited. How are you doing?
That's good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah, I've been super busy casting lots of Dota. We had both the EWC and TI quals pretty much back to back a little over a week ago. Finally, on a little bit of a break, which is great. So that's exciting. Played some disc golf yesterday morning. Gonna go play some disc golf again
Nice.
tomorrow. So just trying to get outside at the cold parts of the day. And by cold, I mean still high 80s or low 90s, because that is it.
Very good.
Yeah, it's been good. Playing a lot of Deadlock, playing a lot of WoW, playing a lot of Dota. It's been yeah, very very chill week for me.
Nice, man. Sounds like quite the opposite. So we're balancing each other out right in the middle. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, yeah, you were saying you've been playing a shit ton of Deadlock, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts because there was a recent patch that came out, and just from the outside looking in, I feel like it would have a pretty significant impact on the gameplay.
Yeah, so we don't really do like patch note reviews. Like we kind of talk more conceptual about the game and how certain things change things overall. This was a short patch in terms of the overall lines. But an actual pretty meaningful patch, at least in my eyes. I think there's like several really big quality of life changes that are just generally really good. I think the map changes are phenomenal, which I guess let's just start with the map changes, because this is one of those things that's just so cool to see them kind of keep doing. The mid lane was obviously reworked in terms of they removed the arch, they put a big bridge and stuff there, but the main thing I want to talk about is the fact that the mid boss area underneath the map is starting to be themed out. So they are turning it into the New York sewers. And if you go down there, it's all like this beaten down like wood with like these big sewer veins and all sorts of like different like kind of gross kind of looking theme. And I think it's just really cool to see. And I'm excited that they're doing this. And they've always been adding small things like this to the game over time. But I think uh, it just shows that we're like one step closer to the release, right? Like things being polished. There's a lot of like definite placeholder assets still in the game. But it's cool to see like how they're theming out the map as we go.
Yeah, I mean, when I read these patch notes, I saw like, oh, a bunch of terrain changes, and it kind of reminds me when I'm looking at a Dota patch, and it's like removed this tree, added ramp here, and I'm kind of like, okay, great, but like, how does it actually like feel in the game? So I guess I'm just asking so far, since you've played the patch for a few days, is there any effect you feel like the theme is nice? That's great. We've been huge fans of anytime they add character to any part of the map, but is there any significantly different feel about the mid lane in terms of like gameplay or how it affects the
Oh yeah.
like the actual contesting of mid boss and stuff like that?
It feels way better. So previously there were two or like technically three ways to get in and out of the mid boss area. There was two zip lines for each team on mid side, and then there was the stairwells that come like from the sides, right? Now there are still three entrances, but they are way easier to get in and out of, and now they are all actually connected. Previously, like the two zip lines in mid, they had no way to get to either of them from inside the mid boss area. You had to go up to the like main area of the level and then go back down the other, which just felt super kind of awkward. So they've redesigned not only the mid boss room, but they've redesigned the area above it, and it feels way more fluid. Like fighting and moving around in there doesn't feel so compact and kind of awkward. Uh, so I think it's a really good change. A lot of fights are happening in that area. Just yesterday alone, like I'd say like half of the big team fights were around mid boss because it's such a huge objective, and you're just it feels better to play in there, which I think is just generally a really good thing. And then the actual bridge that was added in mid lane is really cool. It's way larger than the other bridges, but it also gets rid of the archway that used to be there, which it just kind of looked weird because none of the other lanes had it, and it blocked a lot of vision across the lane. It was also just the playground for Lash, and it made Lash like really OP in that lane for no reason other than the fact that there's just a ton of areas he could hide and bounce off of. Um, so I do think like generally it's a really good change. It's one of my favorite map updates that I've seen in recent future. So I'm a big fan.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean that sounds good to hear. I mean, it's always funny when some changes in the general gameplay or the map indirectly massively buff a character, and sometimes that's just impossible to account for when you're dealing with so many different spells and dynamics of the game that people can abuse. So it's funny to hear like, yeah, Lash is just broken because there's an archway in this lane. That definitely makes sense, but it's like cool and all. People figured that out, but you know that's definitely something that generally the only solution is to remove it because you don't want to like change the hero based on one part of the map. You'd rather change that map because the hero. I think the heroes should always take precedent towards like
Yeah.
over general gameplay changes that significantly affect them. So I think that's quite easy to happen too, since there's so many heroes to consider. I do often think that the Dota team and the Deadlock team both do a great job. Like we've even seen it in other patch notes where like they'll shift a mechanic and they'll be like, this mechanic is gonna like massively buff this hero, so we actually need to nerf them, even though they weren't like super OP beforehand. So I think they do a pretty damn good job of anticipating what heroes will be indirectly buffed and nerfed by certain things that they add to the game.
Yeah, I think overall, I've just been a big fan of the changes that they made. There's a few like we can move on to some other topics as well because there is a lot to kind of unpack that happened in this patch besides just like cosmetic changes. I think there is a real big conceptual change that I don't think has necessarily sunk in with the player base quite yet.
I would like to give
And
my new perspective first because
oh, okay, go for it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I know you're gonna tell us like how it's impacted the gameplay, which is definitely great to hear. But I wanted to say like without playing, I know exactly like how much I love some of these. I know how much I love some of these
Yeah.
changes. So one thing that was always interesting to me that we did talk about this a bit last time that you just don't question things because they've always been there. Like, we don't question the boxes because they were just there. One thing that I never questioned because it was just there, but it did kind of like rub me a weird way, was the fact that when I killed a tower, or sorry, a guardian or a walker, or I killed an enemy hero, that for some reason the enemy can now deny them, by like having the orbs come
Yeah.
out of them. And it's like there was this strange, not strange because it happened every time, but I'd kill a walker and there'd be an enemy there defending it. And rather than, oh, should we dive him now? It's like that's what happens in Dota, right? You kill the tower and you think, do we dive them or do we retreat now? It's like it's now a shoot off for who's gonna kill the orbs that come out of the walker. And that to me was just always like a why mechanic. Like, why is that in the game? And maybe the idea is that in Dota you're allowed to deny towers like as the last hit, so there was some reason to kind of have a hero there defending even if the tower is going to go down if you can get the deny off. So maybe that was partially their ideas, like how do we add this deny mechanic to Deadlock. But time and time again, I just think anything that prevents you from going and killing heroes or fighting each other in some capacity is just, no matter how small it is, right? No matter how much like, it's like this is like a 2-second thing that would happen after everything, and no matter that, to me, is not making the game go in the direction that it should. So I saw that, and I saw that kills no longer spawn orbs either. So they made it so that the objectives no longer have these deny orbs, and that the kills no longer have these deny orbs. And for me, I'm like, I'm in a team fight, or like I'm picking a guy off. The last thing I want to do is kill the guy and have to decide, do I go kill the other guy, or do I secure this kill by shooting the orbs? Like that to me is just, yeah, it wasn't really fun gameplay. So I loved those changes right off the bat.
I can confirm this is some of the best quality of life. When I'm saying there's been some huge quality of life changes, these are exactly the ones I was talking about, because they have made the game feel so much smoother. It's such a simple change. It is. It's so it doesn't seem like much, but the big thing is when you're fighting or chasing down heroes, and you're in a tight window. Deadlock is a very quick game. Like, say you're chasing down a hero, you get a kill, and you're like, well, I need to leave before the enemy team shows up. But if you stick around for like 2 seconds, sometimes just to secure those orbs, those 2 seconds can literally mean you dying.
Yep.
And it makes no sense that that's the case. You're like, oh, I don't want to lose 50% of the bounty I just got. So yeah, it makes the game feel really smooth. It makes team fights feel smoother because you're not just like randomly trying to deny or secure souls from hero kills. The walker change is where this gets really cool, because walkers are worth a pretty substantial amount of souls. And when you're playing and you now have the ability, because there was a little bit of a change, it's basically like anyone who is like nearby guardians and walkers like splits to all players as long as they've done damage to it, and then like nearby players will split the rest. But basically, like, if you solo down a walker in the side lane now, and you're not having to worry about this, like half the soul bounty getting denied or whatever, you just get 2,000 plus souls like immediately. Like, it's pretty massive, like how big these objectives can be now. And it does mean, like, yeah, split pushing is kind of good, but it also just means taking these are more valuable, especially since they changed flex slots once again to now being basically all of the guardians and all of the walkers instead of just 2. So you definitely need to do that now. But I think overall, like this like kind of, it's almost like beginner friendly, which is something we've talked about them needing to do, making the game more beginner friendly in any kind of way, but also just feels way cleaner. Like, it just feels so much better. I don't know how to describe it.
So whenever I'm talking about these patch notes, this is actually a deep philosophical topic for me, because this applies to real life too. But what I'm trying to say, rather than being so cryptic, shall I say, about the way I'm wording this, is that whenever they make a change within the game, or whenever you have a rule set in like a company, in life, or whatever, I ask myself, what does this entice people to do? Right? Like, what does this encourage? What type of behavior is rewarded by this? And what type of behavior is dissuaded by this? And I think the best sort of game design is not to ever remove the ability for people to be creative. But if the game is going in the direction, like the gameplay itself is going in a direction that you weren't a big fan of, rather than just completely removing this thing that's making that happen, to basically, yeah, just say, hey guys, there's more of a reward if you go this way and do this thing. And so what I'm trying to say is, I feel like objectives to some extent in a game like Deadlock, where people kind of have zoomer brain and they're like, I want to go kill people and shoot things, and that's great and all. But what I'm saying is, rather than it being a chore, perhaps, to go kill a walker, to go kill a guardian, it's like you're now rewarded for being a part of the kill. You're getting nearby players split 40% of it, and the rest is split evenly with all 6 players. So if I go kill it by myself, I myself am going to get 50%, and the other 5 are going to get 10%, as long as I read that correctly. So what I'm trying to say is that this makes people want to take objectives. It makes every objective in the game important. And having every objective in the, because of the 3 walkers and everything, and 3 guardians in order to get flex slots, I think that having every objective in the game have value and importance, but then the decision is which one do we go for, when do we go for it, what's the plan of attack. That to me is like the fun complexity of the game. And it also, I think in a game, any game, there needs to be some order within the chaos. And the order can be that these objectives are important. So most of the fights will happen around them in some capacity. So there's like kind of important spots on the map that people can kind of keep an eye out for. There's kind of like a North Star per se about where you're going to have fights. So I just read this and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm encouraged to go kill buildings, and certain heroes will benefit a lot more from killing, like they have the toolkits to kill buildings more impactfully, and then it no longer feels nearly as much of a chore. You get instantly rewarded for doing so. And because the reward is now so great, there's like a more incentive to actually defend the things, but not because you sit there and get the deny, but it's more like we have to ambush them before they kill this thing. So rather than having this like standoff of like slow sieging because nobody wants to commit to an objective and the guy in the back is happy to just get the deny, now it's like we gotta full on commit to these objectives if the enemy's making us do so. And if I'm the enemy, then I have to like actually meaningfully respond to these objective pushes. So all of this, like, I'm just raving about the fact that, like, I think this philosophically, nudges the players to a behavior that's more entertaining, and more team oriented and more objective based, in a game that there's going to be plenty of time to go shoot people and kill each other. And having it be around objectives, I personally think is good, because then the game has a bit of order to it, because the team fights themselves are already all over the place with the verticality and all the stuff.
Yeah, if you're liking that type of mentality and that type of change, then I think this has been a very good patch for players who kind of enjoy that type of gameplay. Because there's more changes like this in the patch. Like when you're saying like things that are incentivizing team play, decision making, and stuff like that, and kind of rewarding the players for doing so. The probably biggest change to the overall like gameplay in a way is the change to kill bounties and the change to trooper value, like trooper bounties as well. So pre 24 minutes, troopers on the map are worth less, like just entirely. It's not a ton, but they're worth less, and it adds up over the course of 24 minutes. Which most Deadlock games honestly are done by 30. So you're really just generally getting less souls from troopers on the map than you were before. Now, what they have done to compensate for this is they have pretty massively, in my opinion, buffed the hero kill bounties. So the previous window was like 250 to 1800 over 45 minutes was how it scaled. Now it is 300 to 2000 over 40 minutes. So it scales faster and the values are higher on both ends. So you're actually getting like an extra 10 souls per minute per hero. So any kills that you take in the game are generally worth an extra 10 souls per minute. So if you're taking a big team fight at 15, 20 minutes, your team could potentially net an extra like 1500 to 2000 souls that weren't there previously in the map. So it's like kills and fighting in general is just way more impactful. Like the teams that are taking mid-game fights, constantly finding picks, you'll just see that they generally are going to be ahead of you, even if you're effectively farming the map.
Yeah, I think the most notable thing is I'm a math guy myself, so when we look at the trooper base bounty at the very start of the game, before this patch, 2 troopers was worth more than a kill. And that's like ignoring if the kill got denied or not, right? So it could be even like almost 1 trooper, like 1.5. But now when you kill somebody, you are 100% guaranteed to get all of those souls. And it's going now with the new numbers, with the buffs to hero kills and the nerfs to the bounties, it's instead of being less than 2 troopers, potentially even less, it's now 2.5 troopers. So when you think about it like this at the very start of the game, that's like a huge shift in regards to the value of trading like HP and kills for just farming on the map, right? The amount of troopers you have to kill to basically counteract and compensate for somebody on your team dying is significantly higher, which just, it means that people are going to be more enticed to go fight people and go save their teammates and play around them and stuff. I mean, obviously there's the negative Nancy perspective where it's like if you're one of your teammates is feeding, the game's going to get way out of control beforehand. But I think MOBAs always need to have that component to the game. And I guess like when I think about wanting to fight all this, like the gameplay flow seems to be more simplified, more what's the word? Like funneled.
Streamlined?
Yeah, streamlined, funneled. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It feels more streamlined overall. And I also think stuff like the way they changed how boons are distributed for me, I'm like, that makes way more sense. It's just rather than every level gives you certain things, it's like every level now gives you the same things, like approximately the same stuff. And it's like remembering like, oh, at level like the 12th boon, I get an extra skill point and all that. That was always like really confusing to like have to memorize that. So knowing that that's been more simplified, for me, I just think of stuff like that, and I'm like, that's streamlining gameplay. That's drawing complexity away from something in a way that the complexity wasn't all that exciting or interesting. And I get to focus on this shit like itemizing and movements on the map and, yeah, like the efficiency of do I go for troopers or do I go for hero kills? Yeah, that's just the stuff that's fun. So every patch where I'm just like, I'm seeing this, I'm like, okay, I'm now encouraged to kill people more. I'm now encouraged to group around objectives more. I'm now encouraged to like actually flank people who are killing our objectives rather than sit behind our objectives and deny them. I'm now encouraged, you know, I can spend more brain power thinking about all of these decisions rather than am I one or two boons away from getting a stat point or from a skill point. You know, stuff like this, I just feel like when I add it all up in my head, it seems substantial.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I saw there was a lot of, it's so weird how the community is sometimes. I saw a lot of people complaining about this patch, like legitimately saying that this was
What
like
were
a
the
terrible
complaints?
patch.
What were the common complaints?
A lot of people are complaining that there's just certain heroes that are just OP in this new patch, and I was like, oh, let's go find out. So I looked up their win rates, and there's not like any heroes that really have a substantial difference in win rates. Obviously, now as you look at the different tiers of skill, as you go from like your low ranks all the way up to your ascendant and Eternus lobbies, the win rates massively vary between which heroes are good. Like Kelvin is one of the best heroes in the game, but he has like a 45% win rate on average. But in Ascendant and Eternus lobbies, he has like a 55% win rate. So it's
Yeah.
like certain heroes are always going to be just better in certain tiers. And there's been a lot. I mean, maybe it's because I'm an Infernus main, but there's a lot of people complaining about Infernus being too strong. But then you like look at they like will post if someone actually posts the game the match ID, you look at it and like no one has anti-heal, no one has spirit or bullet armor, and they're just like trying to 1v1 the hero who is like one of the kings of 1v1s. Like that is the whole hero's identity is he's like, I take 1v1 fights.
Okay,
You know?
I gotta interject for a second. So I'm hearing that the common complaints seem to be around hero balance because the patch is like more brawl heavy, like because the patch significantly changed the generic gameplay, that then there were certain heroes that just benefited a ton from this, right? I think that people who are complaining about hero balance are just fucking tone deaf, okay? I feel like it's the same mentality where I'm in a game of Dota and I care more about winning that individual game than I do about actually improving in the long term. It's like this is one sub patch that is every patch is going to have some degree of imbalance. It's almost impossible in any game like these to have perfect balance. And if I look at this fucking game, here's the deal, guys. I gotta lay it out for you guys, okay? If Deadlock is to be successful and have a long life in the esports scene, a lot of people have to come back to this game, okay? The current people who play the game are needed and appreciated, but if the game is built for you to perfectly enjoy yourself at all times because the game is perfectly balanced, then there's not going to be any significant type of fucking change that's going to mean anything to make this game a more polished final product. Okay? So if you guys are thinking about the immediate future here, just open your fucking eyes to think about the bigger picture of what needs to happen between now and when Deadlock becomes like a mainstream game. And I'm here operating under the assumption that that's going to happen, and that whatever Valve does needs to work towards the assumption that that's going to happen, and that's what they're going for. Because if it doesn't happen, then what the hell are any of us doing here anyway? So shut the fuck up about the current patch. There's going to be imbalance. It's frustrating. I get it. But look at the bigger picture and ask yourself, you know, are you going to remember the gameplay changes that they've made to gradually make the game more smooth, enjoyable, resembling what's like a, you know, a better streamlined gameplay with more objectives and exciting things? Or are you going to remember the OP hero 9 months ago? Like, what are you going to remember?
They're gonna remember the OP hero because
Shut
they're
the
gonna
fuck
have
up,
nightmares.
Eric. That didn't help at all. My
No,
rant's
it's
over.
I completely agree, man. It is weird seeing a lot of the, like, every patch. There's always the negative Nancy's who have their complaints about hero balance, and they have their complaints about whatever it is. But it's funny because every single patch that has come out in the last 4 months has been like a tremendous improvement on the game in every single patch, and that is something that's very rare. When sometimes you see patches and they're just like little number changes to get rid of some of the imbalance that you were talking about, right? Which is
Absolutely.
fine. Those
It's
are great.
necessary to do those, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't be the priority, right?
Yeah, and there's like a couple in this patch too, like, right? They did the major nerfs to things like Calico, the Rescue Beam, a couple nerfs to Calvin. Like there's a few things that were like getting egregious, and they're like, we need to address this. We don't have to put too much emphasis on it, but just tweak the numbers. And they actually balanced it in a delicate way. I think that works, and you're like, cool, great. But let's go back to focusing on the main thing, like you said, which is making a better gameplay experience overall and getting this game closer to release. And I think, yeah, there's going to be certain things people are always going to dislike, and like, I'm kind of with you. Just get over it, enjoy the game for what it is, and get used to playing with things that are maybe imbalanced in the short term, so that we can get to the long term, which is that way better Deadlock experience and a fully polished game that's going to be on release.
If people had complaints that were like, hey, the game's like way less fun now because I'm busy doing this instead of like getting to shoot people, like if there was like a generic thing that's making the games unenjoyable that happened because of this patch, right? Meaning that this is a long-term change. It's like they see these changes and they go, wow, it's just worthless to farm now. Like, we might as well just not even have creeps in the game, or like troopers in the game. If that's like a feeling you have, that's a valid complaint, because then you're saying that the game direction is not going the way that you want it to. But anything that's like this patch specific that is not going to be relevant to what the game looks like a year from now, I think we're all just wasting our time whining about this kind of stuff. Like, Valve has statistics, guys. They have the win rates across each bracket. They have tons of data. In terms of hero balance, that shit's fucking no-brainer what they need to do for that, okay? Like, stop acting like, you know, so smart to say, this hero's broken, they should fix it. It's like, yes, they can nerf some numbers and the hero's win rate will go down a couple percent, okay? Like, but the grand scheme of the picture of what are people doing? Do we think they're enjoying themselves? Is it the type of gameplay we envisioned with this game? Those are the type of things that are very conceptually difficult to balance and create without completely like botching the identity of this game, right? So I just think people are complaining about like fucking out their fucking addition and subtraction when Valve's doing calculus. So just shut the fuck up, you know?
I love that. That's a great analogy, but actually
Thank you.
fairly on point.
Thank you. People
Yeah,
will
I mean,
always
there's
find a reason to complain, Ricky. That's one thing I've learned.
yeah, people are always going to be upset about something. You can't please everyone, but I think in general, this is a huge W patch. I think there's just a lot of really good changes to the game overall. It's, again, following the same trend line of making the game a little bit easier in terms of like random things that were difficult and maybe like were like hard to understand, like the boon system or denying heroes and walkers. Like those types of things alone are just pretty massive changes for new players that are coming into the game. But then also, like for the more experienced players, knowing how to manipulate the gold changes on the map, knowing how to take advantage of the urn changes. We don't really even talk about the urn, but the urn basically they're trying to get rid of the kidnapping the urn meta, which is like just run the urn into your base and delay it for 3 minutes so the other team can't use it. Like that's stuff like that. That's just not fun. Like we're talking about, we want to make the game interactive, and just taking an urn and hiding it in your base is the exact opposite of that. So they're finding ways to get rid of all of these types of things that kind of disincentivize like gameplay in a way, which is amazing. Like it's making Deadlock more fun in every way that I can see. And my biggest complaint last patch was that running around and doing boxes constantly was a huge pain in the ass and not fun. And you could still do that, but kills are worth more, a lot more. And I'm like, I would rather just go kill people, and it works. Like that's an interesting way of balancing it. You know, we'll see what they end up doing, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's one way to always do it is if there's something people are doing that they find is directing gameplay a bit too much, is you can say like, well, what's another way to get the resource that they're doing, which is just souls, so go kill people, right? So that by buffing that, it is automatically kind of drawing attention away from the thing. So a problem can also be solved indirectly by effectively making something more juicy somewhere else. So yeah, definitely. I mean, overall, I feel very positive when I look at these type of changes. I feel like the vibe that Valve is going for consistently tells me that they get what makes gaming fun and makes MOBAs what they are. And you know, like I've said a million times, it does feel like Deadlock is more of a MOBA than it is a shooter. And the conceptualizing of what a MOBA does for the decision making and the in-depth and complexity, that's the part that I think they just need to stay true to themselves. And the high octaneness of the shooter will kind of advertise itself per se, or speak for itself. But yeah, man, no, I definitely am happy about these type of patches, and that's really my final thoughts on what we're seeing here.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really all we kind of wanted to talk about, you know, a little bit. So I'm fine with moving on to our final
The classic.
step of the podcast, always the classic. What did we learn this week? I think I went first last
I
time.
think you did. So I'll
Okay.
take this one. You know, this one's a little bit to unpack. So rather than making sure we unpack it here, I want to leave people with a phrase that I heard that just changed my perception on myself and so many people around me this week. And that phrase, and it applies in my opinion, it applies to all of us gamers, or at least a vast majority of us, is that we are so obsessed with being efficient that we end up wasting all of our time. For me, that one-liner just changed my entire perspective. So just kind of let that one sink in, people at home, because it's kind of blew my mind wide open, and I've been, you know, having those nights in bed, staring up at the ceiling and just being like, oh yeah, there's another time that I was so worried about being inefficient that I ended up just sitting there doing nothing. So that's what I learned this week, Ricky.
Yep, that is like something that I have kind of been aware of in a way, but I've never heard that phrase. So that's actually
Dude,
really cool.
I feel like it sums up so much of things
Yeah,
I was
it
like
really does.
aware of, but it actually gave me like an explanation of sorts. So yeah, it's something to chew
cool.
on. What's yours?
That's like
Oh, go ahead. You had a comment?
No. I was gonna say it's like that's like the computer science brain in me is like always trying to be efficient. So I'm just like, how do I optimize this? And I'm like, I need to stop. I've in the last like couple of years, I'm like, I don't need to optimize like everything. It's okay.
Yeah, the
right?
thing
Like,
is, if you spend so much time, like X amount of time thinking about the optimization, then you would have already been done already. If you just did it. Yeah, it's funny how that works. But yeah, man, what did you learn this week?
So this week, one of the things I guess on a for my personal life, we'll do something like that. It's been like a very heavy grind this year trying to balance casting and streaming and my regular job as well, and it's just it adds up. And I know you've talked about this, and I know I've talked about it as well, just like finding life balance and trying to limit like like how much time I'm spending doing certain things. And this week, my girlfriend and I were talking, and it's like it's just it's weird because like I on days where I just don't have anything going on, I'll be like, I guess I'll stream today. Like I don't have much going on, and so now I'm like actually setting a schedule and being like, all right, I'm picking my weekends, and I'm no longer like streaming. I'm not going to be doing work per se on the weekends anymore, right? Like also I can still do stuff like document like if I have like paperwork and stuff I need to do or like bookkeeping and stuff I have to do, like that's fine. But like it's stuff that's not going to like take significant time out of my day and stuff that's like I can stop and come back to at any time just because like we haven't had enough time to be able to like do things lately. And if we wanted to like go out like randomly on a whim, it's like, oh well, I already started streaming, so it kind of made it fucking weird. And so now it's just like, all right, we're gonna do a better life balance and pick and choose like days that we can like guarantee have time to go do things if we want. And even if we don't, it's just gonna be nice to have days where I can just relax and not feel like I need to do something.
I will say, I came to a very similar revelation at maybe a year or two ago, but my huge takeaway for myself about this was that on my weekends, the only work I'm allowed to do is work that I would have had to do another day. Meaning, like, if I don't do the paperwork on Saturday, I'm gonna have to do it on Tuesday. But like, if I stream on Saturday, I'm still gonna stream on Monday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I found that removing the optional work that I would do as a result of having nothing better to do was like a huge change in my life. And initially I was like, no work on weekends, and then I would just be burned out as fuck on like Monday, Tuesday because I had all this random paperwork. So then I had to make
Yeah.
the distinction of, if it's work that has to get done eventually, then why not take care of it on the weekend if I got nothing else to do? That'll make me happy next weekend or next week or whatever. So yeah, that for me was like that was like the extra speed bump that I went through on
Nice.
that progress on that process. So I'm excited to hear that you're doing that. Yeah, life balance, super important, super exciting when you have those type of realizations. So good on you, and I look forward to hearing how that goes.
Yeah. We also just have like other projects that we want to get done around the
Of
house
course.
that like, sometimes I'm just like, ugh, like that'll take like a few hours, and I don't want to take a few hours today because I did plan on stream, and you're just like, God damn it. So now it's like, yeah, I have plenty of time on the weekends to like get stuff done around the house that
You
like, previously I wouldn't have done
you know why you didn't get that stuff around the house done?
because it wasn't efficient work or
Because you
something.
were so obsessed with being efficient with work that you were inefficient in your life. I'm telling you, man, it changed my fucking life when that was said. So, I'm like, it explains like 90% of my problems. Holy fuck, that was how I felt. So,
Oh no.
TBD to continue. I'm sure like a week from now, if in my next learn section, it'll probably have something to do with this as well. So it'll be life
I love that.
balance related with efficiency, I'm pretty sure. So
Yep.
should be pretty interesting. But yeah, great lessons from us this week. I think these were
Eh,
like above average for us.
Definitely above average. I've been told that is my relative ranking for most of my life.
Yeah,
So,
you're in like
how's
the
my
69 percentile, I think.
yeah, that was specifically what I was told by my teachers, actually. So we're good.
That's pretty nice of
Um,
them.
but that'll bring Deadlock and Load episode 25 to a close. So we want to say thank you all so much for watching. Again, if you are still here, thank you for making it this far through the episode, and maybe consider subscribing or following these podcasts, whether it be on Spotify or on YouTube. But as always, we will see you all next week with another great episode.
Peace. The most delayed peace in history.